It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
We can actually say that, yes.
Yes, I can say it and mean it this time. It is a Thursday, March 7th, the great year of 2024, and we are in full swing. Officially, Nikki Haley has dropped out, as just like the bombs that she had bought and paid for have dropped on. That actually sounded like a Monty Python clip. That's great. Yeah, no. The final domino has fallen that stood in the way of Donald J. Trump's.
Donnie T.
Yeah, it is. Now we are officially in the full swing, and we are looking like we are locking ourselves onto the rematch of the century. And believe it or not, what's crazy about Trump versus Biden is that they are not the oldest juggernauts going at it, as Mike Tyson has officially agreed to exhibition boxing bout with Jake Paul, of all people.
There's going to be a watch party at the Van Beber house for that one.
You know, I could say this. The only thing that I actually think is very unique about this is that because it is Netflix is what this is going to air on. So it's not going to be a pay-per-view. You'll be able to watch it on Netflix.
Oh, it's not a pay-per-view.
No, it is just going to be on Netflix.
All right. Okay.
Free to their subscribers.
Wow.
And that is so, and it will be live. So I'm very interested to see how this goes, because as you know, Netflix paid something in the ballpark of a cool $5 billion for the rights to stream Monday Night Raw on Netflix starting in 2025. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure the deal was for Monday Night Raw and WrestleMania. No, because SmackDown is going to USA. SmackDown is leaving Fox, going to USA.
So
now.
Is Peacock no longer is that taking everything away from Peacock then, or what?
So I will no. It's weird. So the deals that they have struck, NXT is going to the CW network. Raw is going to Netflix. SmackDown is leaving Fox and going to USA Network. Now,
wow.
Peacock is NBC Universal is the parent company of the USA Network. I don't know what happens to the WWE Network, because I could be very wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Netflix deal includes WrestleMania also.
Wow.
But I still think that all the other like premium live events are going to be on Peacock, and I think that the library stays on Peacock except for episodes of Monday Night Raw will be on Netflix. I don't know.
Wow.
But I tell you what, I one of the big things to be said about the WWE, and this just goes to show, like, WWE in its heyday was doing between, I'm going to push the number here, but back in the late 90s, early 2000s was doing in the ballpark between like 18 to probably not quite 30 million each week, but probably like mid 20s, like some of their like real peak ratings points. Whereas now most SmackDown's Raws do anywhere between like 1 million on a low end to like 2.5, maybe 3 million on like a good night. So and most people are like, wow, that's a huge discrepancy between the two. However, guess what? WWE's YouTube page, WWE, 100 million subscribers.
Wow.
To the WWE YouTube channel, which is crazy if you think about just how many that is. Goes to show they're worldwide.
That's unreal. I mean, they've got to be within the within the top 5, I would say. If not, no.
I don't know if they're in the top 5, but they definitely crack towards the top. And if you think about it, and I apologize. I'll let you talk for a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight while my mini me is apparently acting like a
no
squeaky
problem.
toy.
So you guys saw there for a second. I don't have it up right now. I just have our logo up. We are going to do something different here tonight. We're going to do a simulcast here in just a few. You saw as we opened up. As soon as something happens on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, we will bring it in. From what I understand, the reason why they are late starting, the president had to wait 10 minutes. Secret Service and the Washington, D.C. PD had to go out front of the White House, and they had to clear out the Gaza ceasefire protesters so that the limo could get out. So let's give it up for the boys in blue there at DCPD, and it's that so they are actually there. So from what I understand, I've got a kind of a stream or a feed going with Washington Post right now, and they say that he's running about 10 minutes late. You're not missing anything. I mean, if you want to, you're basically seeing this. Here, I'll just go ahead and do a transition into this. This looks like they're doing the group shot. Oh, and there's Nancy Pelosi. It looks like just a group shot of a nursing home. So here comes the sergeant at arms. I can see him in the back of the door. So he's getting ready. We're not gonna play all the Mr. Pro, all that crap, but we just decided we'll do a little bit of talking beforehand. Joe is expected, from what I've read, some of the things that Joe's expected to talk about. We'll be talking about the border crisis. He will be talking about it. His prime thing will probably be talking about Gaza and Israel. He's also going to be really using this State of the Union to push Bidenomics and try to lie to the country about how well the economy is doing. I believe that this is going to be highly entertaining because I really don't know what leg he has to stand on to go with, because, looking at some of the numbers, and they're still, I don't know, do you know the name? I don't know the name of his press secretary, but she has got, I think she could put a spin on just about anything, because she's the term that we used back in the day was called a spin doctor. She is a spin doctor, PhD, MD, you name it. She can put a spin on anything and put a positive spin on it. Looks like Joe's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, just came into the chamber, so that means that Joe is there. I'm sure they're probably giving him his medication and a warm cup of milk before he comes in, so he can, get right to it when it comes down to it. And now you see this is his cabinet coming in. All of his people are coming in. This just from my own childhood perspective, Sean, I don't know if it was the same for you or not, but when we were growing up, we had, of course, we didn't have satellite television, obviously, and my dad, we were a poor family. We didn't have cable television, so we had the Super 3 channels. We had ABC, CBS, and NBC, and this is before the days of Fox. And when Fox came along too, but when she was like, no, the president is on every channel. And so growing up, I watched some great State of the Union addresses. And
in your opinion, because I feel like we had more, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we definitely had more State of the Unions with Trump, definitely with President Obama, than we do with Joe. Am I wrong?
Well,
Is it
so
about
here's
the
what.
same or?
So this is a joint. So this is a joint address of Congress. So he's addressing both houses of Congress. State of the Union is given once a year. So the other messages that the president gives before a joint session of Congress, he can call a joint session and Trump did do quite a few messages to a joint sessions of Congress. There's also the budget address. The budget address, some years, Joe, as far as I know, I don't think Joe has ever given a budget address. But you're right, Obama and Trump both gave budget addresses, and they took every opportunity that they had to address Congress. Now, I've thought of some of the memorable ones that I had. Reagan, the one that stands out to me the most is in 1980. I was 85 or 86. So Reagan, he comes in and he's got one of his aides carrying this book. I dare to say probably yay thick. And he's going through his speech and everything, and he says, and he goes and he starts talking about the tax code. And so he reaches over and he grabs this book from a table that's off the camera just a little bit, and he basically he's like, "This, boom, is the U.S. tax code, and we need to make changes to it." And to me, that's one of the most memorable. I mean, Reagan knew how to work a crowd. He knew how to work a crowd. The other one I remember was the State of the Union, the February after September 11th, and I mean that was probably the most unified I'd ever seen the House of Representatives and the Senate. USA. I mean, Democrats, Republicans, both standing up and cheering, and just it was something to remember. But with Trump, it's Trump and Obama both were notorious for tooting their own horn about how great their program is. Now, I'm going to be interested to see how well Joe performs tonight, being his last handful of public speaking. It has not been stellar, to say the least. But, like you said, this is going to be interesting because I am curious as to see how much Joe addresses the campaign. Because also on top of Trump, with Nikki Haley dropping out, I believe that Joe Biden's I don't even know the name, but I saw it came up on my Reuters feed yesterday that the other Democratic candidate dropped out of the election as well. So, I mean, and I don't think I can ever remember a time this early because Super Tuesday was just this last Tuesday, and I don't ever remember a Super Tuesday where we already know who our candidates are going to be for the next election. I mean, at least for the for the incumbent party, but you don't know for the challengers. You don't know this early. And I think one of the things that you also have to take into consideration is in 2016, this time in the primary, we still had close to, I believe it was 10 or 11 candidates. There were 17 total candidates who ran for the Republican primary, including Donald Trump, in 2016. And this early in the game to be boom and boom. I mean, what do you see happening now that, I mean, so now you want to talk about a boxing match. You talked about Mike Tyson earlier. I mean, how are these guys, what's the circling of the ring going to look like, you think, with this coming up this early?
Well, the big thing for me is I'm really interested to see if somehow, some way, Kennedy Jr. manages to find a way to sneak onto the ballot as a third party candidate. I was reading and watching some videos and stuff earlier today that just kind of talked about how he's not quite there yet, but getting closer. So I'm very interested to see how that would play in effect, and what it could actually mean if there was an actual third party name on ballots during election season. There's still time. However, as we know, as now as the field has really been set, even though we've talked about it, the field's been set for a while now.
Right.
It is very interesting to see. And here's the thing, like, there's a couple of things that I'm interested to see how they're going to shape up. And I'm interested to see if and when debates happen between Biden and Trump.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they do, solely for the reason that I just don't think that Biden can debate. And like,
there's no way.
I'm not saying that because like so one of the things is I have seen people talk about our TikTok videos that are getting more traction of a couple, they're getting, hundreds of comments. Usually people think that we are very far right leaning. We cannot stress this enough that we are not.
No.
This is not an endorsement of Trump. I think the issue is, like, people have confused what being critical of a party means. Being critical of a party does not mean that you endorse the other party. Being critical just means that you're being critical. You're simply just stating, hey, I don't like these things. This individual is not good. So I can criticize Biden. It doesn't mean that I endorse Trump. I can criticize AOC. It doesn't mean that I endorse Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think all four of them are fucking stupid. Okay, so that is how I can present it.
Yeah. As you see there, just to cut in on you just for a second, Sean. Joe is entering into. Oh my God, Sean! I wish you could see this. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is. She's got on her MAGA 2020 hat. She's got on her. She's holding up a button. I can't see what the button says.
So the button, I'm pretty sure the button has to do with the vote that was passed today, where 170 Democrats voted against the is it Karen? Oh gosh.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I can't read it. It says it also stopped the Biden border crisis. She's wearing a T-shirt. I can't quite see what the T-shirt says, but she's got on a blazing red blazer.
I had it backwards. Laken Riley was the Georgia student who was murdered by an illegal immigrant.
Yes, that's what it is. I just saw it. Yes. I just saw it.
170 Democrats voted against that act that today. So it's still moving forward on the House. Now it's up to the Senate.
He just took the button and now he's talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene. He is now talking to Marjorie.
I have to get back.
Oh man! So it looked pleasant. They both exchanged words. I don't know how pleasant it was. She said something to him and gave him the Laken Riley button, and he took it. So that's interesting. Because they purposely, all of his handlers, you saw him as he walked in. He's got Chuck Schumer with him. He's got.
Isn't it kind of funny how right now there's all these people dressed in white, and they almost look like nursing home, staff.
Nursing home attendants. Yes.
Which that is our floor on both sides. It's a bunch of dinosaurs.
And I mean, oh God. This is painful to watch. This is so painful just to watch. I mean, and now that you say that, I'm now taking in more notice of how many gray hairs there are. Now he's addressing the guy from Virginia, the Democratic moderate, and there's he's talking to Mitt Romney. Yeah, there's Mitt Romney shaking hands with Mitt. He just shook hands with Mitt Romney, which that surprises me. Of course, Mitt Romney's pretty much what they call a rhino. I wish I can't. Part of the reason why I've got this muted right now, I'm actually taking this from C-SPAN, which is public domain, so I can actually use this, but I'm muting it right now.
It's also on the White House website as well.
Yeah, So we're just, if anybody's, I don't think anybody would be concerned, but it's public domain. But going back to what you were saying, I don't. The debate would have to be. I mean, wouldn't you think he'd almost have to be wearing an earpiece or something? I just can't.
Here's the thing, though. I honestly don't think it would help. I would not be surprised if we don't get presidential debates, but we got vice presidential debates.
Well, and that's going to be interesting in seeing how what's the senator from South Carolina, Tim. I can't think of his name right now. It's not Tim Collins. It's Tim something. But the senator, governor, whatever his name is, for me, I think that's going to be. Oh, they're cheering for him. Okay, we do have to unmute this to see what the cheer is. I got to see what the cheer is. Hold on a second. Oh, God.
4 more years.
4 more years, chant. Is that 4 more years that they want him to serve, or is that 4 more years that they want him to live? I'm kind of confused.
I mean, that's what's crazy is like we have this. We're supposed to be getting into the State of the Union, and yet we have, the pomp and circumstance of I can tell with some of these old people I'm seeing clapping how many bruises we're gonna have on hands tomorrow. Good Lord.
The liver spots are gonna really start rising to the top, and yeah, this is par for the course for State of the Union, but now you got now Nancy Pelosi is taking over the escort job. They have basically different people on these escort committees that I was watching a little bit before Sean joined me. I mean, they basically named these different people to help escort him in. So Chuck Schumer's handed him off to Nancy Pelosi now, and so Nancy.
What do you think happens? Like here's the thing, Biden speaking is like this is going to be a big moment for him if he can't get through this speech. People are going to rip him up, and I am very that is one of the things is I am very interested to see how well he manages to get through this speech because again, not an endorsement of Trump. He is also very old. However, the dementia has not quite settled in on Trump as it is for President Biden.
Yeah, he's
and
not too
so at least that with Trump, you are going to get you're actually going to get him to be able to finish his sentences without fumbling the applesauce in his mouth. So it is very, very interesting to see how this is going to go as he slowly but surely is making his way.
Here we go. Let's see. We'll keep on talking, but I mean, so here he is. He gives the tradition that he gives the speech to, and there's Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. Nice name. Again, I still can't get over Mike Johnson. I mean, is that some guy they found off the street or what? So, all right. Buckle in, folks. Here we go. If you're watching along at home right now, go ahead and go ahead and get your bottle of scotch out. We'll do a little drinking game here. The over under on how many times how many times he loses track of where he's at. How many times he?
I tell you this though, I am so happy. I'm so happy Nancy Pelosi is no longer behind.
Oh my God!
My God! What the worst?
That looked like the crypt keeper back there. Just all right. You have to let the speaker. No, the speaker.
I go home now.
If I start, I go home now. Okay.
Hunter, put your penis away.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. In January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation.
He wasn't introduced. He was not formally introduced.
Unprecedented in the history of the
All right,
Union.
here we go.
Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either.
Joe,
Not
wake
since
somebody
President
up.
Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself.
Interesting to see what the Republican response is to this right now. This statement on the Ukraine. You see Mike Johnson behind there. He is clapping. You got some Republicans that are standing.
They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Now my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable.
I'll take it down just a little bit there, Sean. We can discuss some of this stuff, and this whole thing with Putin. I mean, does this appear like, I mean, are the Republicans, if Donald Trump gets in, is this going to be a thing that the Republicans are going to back out on? I mean, this seems like it's becoming more of an issue that there's definitely more support for pulling out of Russia and taking care of American needs here at home. I mean, is this something that the Republicans are going to probably...
No, I don't think so. I think that they keep the aid, maybe not as much, but no, I think it is definitely just a talking point to use as of now, and then come election season and, let's hypothetically say Trump has taken office, his stance will switch up a little bit. I do believe, personally, because we saw that before with how many presidents wanted to get out of Iraq and Afghanistan before we finally did. The amount of I have a plan, and then same thing. However, could there be a change? Yeah, but I don't see it as that. I think that once if Trump was to become president again, the narrative would shift a little bit. If we're keeping a closer watch than Sleepy Joe did on Ukraine.
And he just says, my message to Putin is simple: we will not walk away. Okay, so now you're getting a standing O. We will not bow down. Okay, so oh God, there's man. So, but what about the state? My other thing is though, what about this quote by Donald Trump though? Do the hell whatever you want. I mean, he didn't take that out of context. I mean, what kind of message? I mean, is Trump just trying to throw a little? I mean, basically throw his balls around and try to show how big he is, or is this actually another talking point for Joe to kind of
I
mess up on.
I didn't see the quote, so I can't speak to it.
I'd have to look. I'm gonna have to look to that, but
yeah, because it could have just been one of those. I mean, who knows? It could have just been where like it again,
yeah.
where Trump was talking about and
All right.
Putin will do that whatever the hell he wants. Yeah, let's see what he's saying.
Okay, yeah. This is about the election now.
America stood strong and democracy prevailed. We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired.
As I've done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office is defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections, restore trust in our institutions, and make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place.
Oh, man.
Again,
Republicans, you got a few Republicans clapping there.
it's not
Mike Johnson clapping there in the
hyperbole
background.
to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do. History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF.
So we'll go ahead and this is part of the thing we can kind of tune down on this for a little bit because this is where they go through and that's another interesting thing. That was the last thing I was going to expect him to talk about was going to be January the 6th. I was also expecting more heckling from, last year at this time, Marjorie Taylor Greene heckled the crap out of Joe while he was giving the speech. Again, is this, hey, just in case out of a miracle of God that I do pull an election out of my butthole, let's have another peaceful transfer of power and not have another January 6th. I mean, I think that was very interesting comment there. All right. Oh, Roe v. Wade. Here we go.
There's so much more. Thank you. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it. Look at the chaos that has resulted. Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas. She's become pregnant again and had a fetus of a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children in the future were at risk if she didn't act. Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well, but it's happening in too many others. There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you were right about that.
As the justices take a pie to the face there. One thing I do want to mention real quick the lady who they just mentioned who had to have the life-saving abortion, sitting next to her, I don't know if you were watching or not, Sean, sitting next to her is Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, Maria Shriver. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
When reproductive freedom was on the ballot, we
Yes.
won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
And again, Republicans' buttholes are puckering up across the aisle as we see it happening there.
Folks, America cannot go back. I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come. 4 years ago next week, before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century. Remember the fear, record losses? Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus that took more than 1 million American lives, of loved ones, millions left behind? A mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness. A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable.
Oh, my.
I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news in 1,000 cities and towns. The American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told.
So as we said earlier, so now we're going to see the lead into the greatest recovery story ever told. So this is going to be the lead in to how great Bidenomics is.
America's comeback is building the future of American possibilities, building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, investing in all America, in all Americans, to make sure everyone has a fair shot, and we leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does.
Did he just say that the COVID vaccine is now being used to fight cancer? That's news to me. That's news to me.
Is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record. A record.
Oh.
Unemployment at 50-year lows.
Oh my God.
A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope.
Just for the record, Sean, Murdoch says, what are the odds Mike Johnson will shred the manuscript of this speech just like Nancy Pelosi did to the one of Trump?
Where is it written we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? We are, we will. More people have health insurance today. More people have health insurance today than ever before. The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up. Inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world.
What?
Tending lower.
What? What? What?
The landing is and will be soft.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Right here in America.
Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. I have to do it. I'm sorry. I have to do it. Wait a minute. I had to do it.
Soaring. Buy America has been the law of the land since the 1930s.
Oh my God.
Past administrations, including my predecessor, including some Democrats as well in the past, failed to buy American. Not anymore. On my watch, federal projects that you fund, like helping build American roads, bridges, and highways, will be made with American products and built by American workers. Creating good paying American jobs.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh.
And thanks to our CHIPS and Science Act, the United States is investing more in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of semiconductors, chips, that drove up the price of everything from cell phones to automobiles. And by the way, we invented those chips right here in America. Well, instead of having to import them, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Many of those jobs paying $100,000 a year and don't require a college degree.
I'm sure there's some electrical engineers that will tend to probably disagree with that, but okay.
My policies have attracted $650 billion in private sector investment in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh my goodness. This is
If any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know. Modernizing our roads and bridges, ports and airports, public transit systems. Removing poisonous lead pipes so every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage. Providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where you live, urban, suburban, or rural communities, in red states and blue states. Record investments in tribal communities. Because of my investment in family farms.
I will make a comment to that. I actually have seen with the whole rural and suburban internet thing that we now have. I mean, a lot of Pike County now has internet that runs into the rural areas. Spectrum, a large percentage of our school district now is rural, but now has internet. I will give him that, but I mean, as we're now, he's getting ready to introduce somebody else, so we can kind of comment right now. What's striking you so far here, Sean? What's some of the things that you're hearing? I saw you shake your head there a couple times. What's some of the things?
I'm really annoyed with the touting of how Bidenomics has performed. We know it is not fiction. It is true that these new jobs that have been created by Biden and his economy, they're not new jobs. No. People were not working, and people just had to go back to work. And they're not new jobs. We also know that these jobs are also people working more than one job to make ends meet.
Right.
His tout about inflation is a downright lie. Go anywhere right now. Right. Things are more expensive everywhere than they've ever been. That is inflation is not down. Inflation feels like it's at an all-time high. It might not be at an all-time high, but his 3%, he is full of shit. He might be at 3% of the last week. It has not been the trend during his presidency. That is a fact. So again, I've always thought State of the Unions can be annoying because it's more like a dog and pony show of the people standing up and clapping and
right now he is introducing the president of the UAW right now, and he's taught, if anybody's reading the thing about on the bottom there, but he's touting how the deal was made with UAW and getting higher wages. I wish he would talk about how the plant in Wentzville has laid off 2 of their shifts because basically overproduction and people are not buying cars right now.
Why? Because cars are more expensive than they've ever been.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. And I really, he's going to avoid it, but I want him to talk about immigration.
Yeah,
I know he's going to dodge that.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'd like to hear him talk.
We're getting close to our time, but this is, I've always wanted to. You actually recommended this evening, and I thought, man, that'd be a great idea. I mean, to do kind of a live fact check, and like you said though, dog and pony show is an underlying is an understatement because that's not. Here, look how great our union is. Our buddy Jonathan just said. He said that is probably more of the private sector bringing internet to the rural areas so they can make more money. And I can agree. I'll go with you that. Oh, here's another 4 more years chant. There we go. 4 more years. 4 more years. Fantastic. 4 more years. Let's listen to a little bit more, and then we'll end her out here. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Biggest corporations no longer get all the tax breaks. And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the United States combined. And I represented it for 36 years. I'm not anti-corporation, but I grew up in a home where trickle-down economics didn't put much on my dad's kitchen table. That's why I determined to turn things around so middle class does well. When they do well, the poor go way up and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. And there's more to do to make sure you're feeling the benefits of all we're doing. Americans pay more for prescription drugs than anywhere in the world. It's wrong, and I'm ending it. With the law that I proposed and signed, not one of you Republican buddies voted for it. We finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit. And I want to, but what to do next? I want to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for every American who needs it. Everyone. For years, people have talked about it, but finally we got it done and gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices on prescription drugs, just like the VA is able to do for veterans. That's not just saving seniors money, it's saving taxpayers money. We cut the federal deficit by $160 billion. Because Medicare will no longer have to pay those exorbitant prices to Big Pharma. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market to treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade.
Wow.
They're making a lot of money, guys. And they'll still be extremely profitable. Will not only save lives, it will save taxpayers another $200 billion.
Okay, I want to bring up. I want to clarify something here that Joe said earlier. Joe said that when he talked about trickle-down economics and how he had more businesses in his area that he represented than the other states combined. Just as a reminder, folks, Joe is a senator from Delaware. Delaware. So a claim that he just made there, unless I totally misheard it, Sean, please tell me if I misheard this. He's saying that the statement he made there was, my state is just as corporate and factory producing than you guys. Did I hear that correctly?
I don't know if he said that or if he said the state that he grew up in.
He grew up in Pennsylvania. He grew up in Pennsylvania. He was born and raised in Pennsylvania. And
I don't know if he said if it was the state he represented or like the state that he was raised in. Like he grew up in it, but either way, I know that Pennsylvania's.
Pittsburgh still.
A big industry. Yeah, but I mean,
still,
that's one thing.
I don't know. I get. I'll end with this, and if you want to say something more, if you want to listen some more, we can. But again, I challenge people as you go back and you look over this and as you listen to this as we go off, I challenge people, and this again, as Sean said earlier, we're voice of reason. We're pretty much, we try to stay as middle of the aisle as we can. Just because we're trashing one doesn't mean we support the other. But there has to be some fact checking going on. When you watch something like this, when you look at something like this, this is the point of this address is to say, here is the state of our country. The state of our country is good. The state of our country is bad. The state of our country is this, that, or the other. What this has turned into, as Sean referred to it before, is a dog and pony show. This is hey, look how great our stuff is working, and he's using this as a 60-minute free political commercial is what this is. And so, pretty much every president from the old days on, this is what they've done. And just as a reminder, folks, one other piece of history: the first president to deliver in person the State of the Union was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was the first president to deliver the State of the Union in person to the White House, or to the joint session of Congress. And so, like I said, this is the 60 minutes of free commercial for Joe, and he's going back, and what he's talking about now is again talking about the housing market, which is, I wish Travis was able to join us tonight. You guys should talk about this too, about how crazy the housing market is, and how, my administration is also eliminating, what are you eliminating? Title insurance on federally backed mortgages. When you refinance your home, you can save thousands of dollars wow. Okay. We'll let it go at that. Sean, anything else you want to say tonight before we end it up?
No, we'll definitely, for our listeners that have followed along with us live, we'll recap this on our next episode.
And we'll get some
how the rest of this goes, and but no, it was good to listen in with you guys. We'll definitely have to do something like this more often. This was a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for joining us live. It's kind of good to be back talking to everybody live. So we'll finish this up, and then we'll recap with you guys next week, and hopefully some good juicy news is on the way.
All right, we'll see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.